This is a walkthrough for the debugging exercise smallest prime factor. So we've got some debugging tips up the top as per usual, and then we can come and have a look at the task. So this exercise takes a number greater than 1 and determines if 2, 3 or 5 is its smallest prime factor. If it has a different smallest prime factor, like 7, then the program lets you know that that factor is higher than 5. You can assume that the program is never given any number smaller than 2. So that means that our inputs will be greater than or equal to 2. Good to know. Then we've got some examples here which we can try out once we've got the code running. And we can assume that the values entered will always be a whole number greater than 1. We can assume that we will not be given any negative numbers. So always going to get whole numbers, so no decimals. And we won't be given negative numbers, so that's sticking with this, that it's going to be greater than or equal to 2. So if we now have a look at the code, first thing that we want to do is I want to compile it. I want to see if DCC has anything to suggest. Cool, so it seems like it compiles fine, so it's not necessarily a syntax issue. Let's expand this out a little bit so we can see the whole line. And let's run it. Debug, smallest prime. So if we enter a number like 2, we expect the smallest prime factor to be 2. That's not what's supposed to happen. If I come here, maybe we should put in one of those examples, but we know that that's not what's supposed to happen, right? The smallest prime factor of 2 is 2. We shouldn't be printing out this. Let's try another example. And number 6. Oh no, it printed out everything. So we've got these 4 print statements, and we only want to print 1. Right? At the moment we're printing all 4 of them, and at the moment we're printing 3 out of 4 of them, which isn't quite right. So what do we have? How have we set it up? So we're checking if a number is divisible by 2, we should print this. If a number is divisible by 3, we print this. If it's divisible by 5, print this. Otherwise, print this. Let's have a look at this first. So this if else, they're linked. So that's why we're only getting 3 print statements rather than 4, is because if it's divisible by 5, we get this. If it's not divisible by 5, we get this. But at the moment, our number seems to be hitting all of these if statements, which isn't necessarily what we want, right? If we have this prime number 6, we want it to finish this if statement and then stop. I don't want it to check if it's divisible by 3 because we know that 2 is smaller than 3, so if 2 is its prime factor, or one of its prime factors, it's going to be lower than 3. So I kind of need to link these statements a little bit, right? So if it falls into one category, so if it falls into the divisible by 2 category, I don't want it to check anything else. So what if I put in an else statement? So then I'm saying, if it's divisible by 2, do this. Otherwise, if it's divisible by 3, do this. So let's see if that helps us, if that's made it a little bit better or if it's made it any worse. So let's recompile it. And then we can run it. So I'll do one of those examples before. Let's do 2 again. We still get the same thing for 2. Has it made our case for 6 any better? Oh yeah, that's a bit better. So up here we had 3 print statements coming out for the 6, and now we've only got 2 down here. And we have the one that we want, where the lowest prime factor is 2, and we have this one, the lowest prime factor is higher than 5, which isn't correct, so it's hitting this one as well. So we probably need a similar approach. I don't want it to hit this if statement if it doesn't need to, right? I want it to just hit one of these. So let's try that else trick again. So if the number is divisible by 2, do this, and then because these are all else ifs, if this is true, it won't check the rest of them. So let's see if that's fixed. So let's recompile it, and let's run it. So we enter a number 2, lowest prime factor is 2, perfect. Let's try 6. Lowest prime factor is 2, excellent. Let's try a bigger example. What about 15? Awesome. So these are now hitting the right things because it's checking this. So for the case of 15, it checks this. This isn't correct. it comes down here and it's like, oh, 15 is actually divisible by 3, so we'll enter into this statement, and once it's done, because the rest of these are else ifs or else, it skips the rest of it, so it doesn't even bother checking this, and then it jumps down to our return. So this way we're guaranteed that we're only going to hit one of these print statements. Only one of these is going to come out, because if it's not one, then it has to be like another. So if we try these other examples just to make sure, so we have 6, 15, and 55. Let's try that. Awesome. So 55 is this one down here, because it's not divisible by 2 and it's not divisible by 3, but it's divisible by 5. We should probably test another case, right? We're only given 3 examples here, but there are 4 different print statements that we're trying to achieve, so we better check that we can get to all of them. Right, so let's try something like, what if I have the number 49? Awesome, the lowest prime factor of 49 is higher than 5. And that makes sense, right? Because 49 is just 7 times 7. That's it broken down to its prime factors, so we can't really go any lower than that because 7 is a prime number itself. So that's not too bad. Let's do just some other cases just to double check. If we did like 100, then 2 should be the lowest prime. Perfect. If we did 21, 3 should be the lowest prime. And if we did something like 3 should be the lowest prime. Ooh, did it a bit backwards. The number got entered there, but it still scans it. So it gives you that the number's 3. And that looks pretty good.